All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is going to be a quick webinar about Hackusama as a whole. I'll give a quick kind of intro to Hackusama. In addition to that, we have a couple speakers for you today. We've got Bruno from the Web3 Foundation speaking on on-chain identity with Kusama. And then we've got Jocelyn from the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator to speak about what they're doing over there. I'm Dan Reeser with the Web3 Foundation, based here in Austin, Texas, and work on a lot of kind of community and growth marketing initiatives. And I'll be kind of kicking things off today, and then I'll hand it over to Urban next. But like I said, we're going to give a quick status update. Urban will walk through some of the community partners that are involved in the hackathon, and then the two speakers that I already kind of walked through. So on the call, as you can see on the video, we've got Urban from my team as well on the growth and community side, and then we've got Bruno from the technical education team. I'll be inviting Jocelyn onto the screen after Bruno, because we kind of got a limit of about 4 screens here. But like I said, Jocelyn will be talking about the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator. So Hackusama as a whole, if you're unaware, haven't been involved in the hackathon so far, Hackusama is a 7-week-long hackathon focused on building custom blockchains using Substrate, and also for building kind of anything that you can come up with in your imagination in the open hack category. So 2 categories, 7 weeks. Currently, we've got around 382 participants last I checked. So we've got a lot of great traction going. A lot of teams have been forming. But if you are still looking for a team, or if you're a team maybe of 2 or 3 that are looking to add, 1 or 2 people of a certain skill set, there is a category on the dev post page that says participants, and you can go there and look at people specifically indicating that they are looking to join a team like yours. So if you don't have luck with the participants tab, also we'll post a link here in the chat, but feel free to join the Discord channel. There's also a section of the Discord for forming teams, meeting people, introducing yourself. So that could be another good way to meet people to potentially work with. So now I'm going to pass it over to Urban to get into some of the partners that have helped support Hackusama so far and kind of highlight 3 or 4 of them. So take it away, Urban.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. You can hear me, right? It's fine. So we've got a few community partners, and the idea here is to sort of introduce them one by one to give some exposure to highlight what they do, because at the end of the day, these are really the partners that help us drive everything that we do. Without help from these external communities, we probably wouldn't have 380 or 385 participants like we have right now. So then if you go to the next slide, please. First up is CoinGecko. CoinGecko is actually, I've known the guys at CoinGecko for some time, really good folks. What CoinGecko does is actually very close to what CoinMarketCap does. If you don't know them, do check them out. What's interesting or relevant for Hackusama is that CoinGecko actually has an open API, which you can use to pull in market data, prices, historical pricing even, and so on. So it's probably a good resource to have in mind as well, not just a good community partner. So CoinGecko, thank you very much for being a part of this. So Mousebelt is actually, so the guys in Mousebelt are based in San Francisco, and what they've built is sort of an ecosystem around, in part around the university ecosystem, but also in part around the startup ecosystem, and it's somewhat along the lines of a accelerator. It's definitely worth exploring. Also in the context of Hackusama, they're a really good partner promoting through their network what we do. But if you build a product, if you build something for Hackusama, don't hesitate to reach out to them to explore what they got. You might be surprised what you find there. And now we've got HackHub. HackHub is Also a really good community partner. They helped us promote the hackathon through HackUp. So if you'd actually go to HackUp, you could see Hackusama being live there, being posted there. In essence, HackUp is a really good platform to host hackathons online. So there's a few that popped up in the past years. HackUp is definitely something that you could check out as well if you plan on running hackathons on yourself. Now, we do try to diversify in geography here, and hence you see here Hackathons Australia. Hackathons Australia is really as far as I know, the largest community for hackers in Australia. So if you're based in that region, do reach out to them. They do organize a lot of events. They are participating in a lot of events. And if you like what we've been doing with Hackusama, I think Hackathons Australia has a lot to offer as well. So that's it for the community partners. As Dan explained before, we've got two fantastic speakers. One is Bruno. You probably know Bruno from before. He's done a few wonderful online events, really good tutorials, and so on. He's got something really good prepared for you as well, which is really relevant for Hackusama as well. He's going to present it as an idea that you could potentially build out. And following Bruno, so then if you go to the next slide, is going to be Jocelyn. So Jocelyn is the director at the Berkeley X Labs and the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator. We're very excited to have you here. I see that Jocelyn already commented there. So really good speakers today. I hope you guys prepare some questions. We're going to do a short Q&A at the end. I know I have a few questions for Jocelyn and Bruno already. So why don't we kick it off? Bruno, take it away. Take us through your idea or tutorial.
Yeah, thank you. So I don't really have any slides today, except maybe my info slide, which will tell you who I am and how to get in touch with me. I am going to show you actual code. We're not going to be coding because we don't have much time, but I'm just going to show you the code that I just recently wrote for this idea. And okay, so this is me. You can always get in touch with me through Twitter, Telegram, LinkedIn, or just email. It's bruno@web3.foundation. So I'm the technical educator at the Web3 Foundation, and my role is to basically demystify the technology that we're working on and teach people how to develop on and for the Web3 stack that we are building. So what I want to show you today is actually the idea. Actually, let me first explain the idea that I had. 1 second. How do I? Okay. So if you don't know how Polkadot and substrate chains in general, like Kusama, work, I strongly recommend visiting the first video of this series. If you're on Crowdcast, you can access the session selector up in the top left corner, and you'll be able to click on the first week that we had for Hackusama. And there I explained how substrate actually works, what makes it special, and why you might want to develop for it. Now, one of the very interesting features that we have built in to Kusama and Polkadot is that you are able to register your own identity on chain. So you're able to attach your real world data or any other data, any custom data that you think of, you can attach to your address on chain. What that means is that I can identify my address on the blockchain as a let me just find this real quick. I can identify my address as a real world entity, right? I can attach a legal name to it, a display name like a username. I can attach my email to it, an image avatar, whatever else. And you can also define custom fields. You can add, like, if I wanted to advertise my, since I like to play games a lot, I want to advertise my Steam username or my Oculus username, and I've added those fields as well to my profile, you know. And another feature that goes alongside that is that we also have registrars in the system, and those are like accounts which are able to verify your information. So they're going to check that information that you put into there in your identity, and they'll contact you on each of those services that you listed. Like if you listed an email, they'll talk to you via an email. Then you'll have to click a link to confirm that you really own this email and so on. And they'll verify every field that you put in there. And once it's verified, they will click a verify account button. And now you have a network recognized registrar vouching for you, for your realness, for your humanness. And that's how you get verified humans on the blockchain. Of course, there is this element of trust where you still have to trust that registrar that they won't go corrupt or that they won't disappear and so on. But it's a nice stepping stone in the right direction on how to reduce Sybil attacks and similar situations where people can create multiple accounts and pretend to be multiple people at once. So you will verify this. And registering an identity and registering these fields on your identities costs money. You don't spend the money, you lock it up. It's a deposit. But it's like for every identity you register, you have to put down that deposit again. And every extra field that you add needs another deposit. So this is kind of another game theoretic spam prevention method where you're not allowed to kind of spam the chain with your nonsense data, and yeah, this kind of makes it so that only people who are really interested in having an identity public like that are the ones who do it. This is very useful for validators, for example, who want to advertise their identity and their performance or their landing page, their website, whatever else, their business, on their profile so that people know who they're nominating when they're nominating for when they're staking, and also so that they have some resources to visit, right? They know where to go to find out more about that validator and to learn what the advantages are from nominating that validator. Now, I want to show you how to how to actually read this data from the chain. And let me just do that real quick. 1 second. So, okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, so you can see here, this is the Polkadot JS UI where you can actually access all of your accounts and all the Kusama functionality. And here I have my account, Bruno W3F, and this checkmark means that I have been verified by a registrar. And if I click on it, like I did now, you will see this right-hand menu spawn, and you will see the information that I've added in here. So my email's here, my website's here, my Twitter is here, and my Riot handle are all here. And you see here that my identity is judged as reasonable by one registrar. Reasonable is just a type of score that a registrar can give you. There are different scores. The best one is known good, and that's when you really personally know the registrar or they verified with your some kind of national ID and so on. Reasonable is the basic verification of these fields. Anything below reasonable is basically unverified. So this is what it looks like in the UI, right? And you can read this directly from the chain itself. So if I go to chain state and if I select the identity palette, so if you don't know what palettes are, I really recommend you go watch the first video. I explained palettes and how this all fits together, how these logical Lego blocks fit together to make a blockchain in that video. Essentially, the identity palette is like a subsystem in the blockchain, and the identity palette contains all of this information about these identities that were registered and all the functions that you can call to register a new identity. So the identity palette can be called here. So we call the identity palette and we call the identity of function. And if I call this function, I will, if I click plus, this means execute query. So if I call this function, it will default to my address that I selected. You can select any of the addresses that you own here. I'll select my default one. If I click plus, I get back this information. So this is just JSON information. And it says here, it has 3 different parent properties in this JSON. So one is judgments, and that's going to be a list of all the judgments that I got. So registrar 1 gave me a judgment of reasonable. That's fine. Deposit, I deposited 10 KSM tokens to claim this identity. And for default fields, the deposit of 10 is enough. If you add custom fields, then you need to add more.
Hey, Bruno.
I think it's like 2.5 KSM per yeah, Dan?
Do you mind zooming in just a little bit on that?
Yeah, no worries. Hold on. Is that better?
There. Yep.
Okay, good. So you have here the judgments. So I have from registrar 1, the judgment of reasonable. I have a deposit of 10 KSM, and now I have the info object. And the info object contains all the information about my profile that's stored on chain. So what does this mean? Well, there are different encoding types there are different these encoding formats in which you can store your information on chain. And this one is just the string converted to bytes. So if we decode this with a bytes to UTF-8 converter, actually let's check that out. So you have this raw. Raw means it's just a raw conversion, bytes to string. There are others like hashing methods, but when you're using hashing methods to register this, and I'll show you how a little later, a hash is a one-way function. You can't really decode a hash. You can only verify that a certain input results in that hash when you again hash it. So when you use hashes to store this data, you have to have access to the original data somewhere, somehow, and then you can only do verifications online in the UI. So the reading of data, the return of the data would not be possible with hashes, only with raw encoding. So let's check that out. Let's find a UTF-8 to UTF-8. There we go. Convert UTF-8 to bytes. Actually, we need to convert bytes to UTF-8. Convert bytes to UTF-8. Let's try that. All right, that should work. So now let's grab this information. Let's grab the first one, display info, and we'll convert that. And invalid UTF-8, convert bytes to UTF-8. Yeah, what's up? There we go. So now I remove the 0x at the front. So this decodes into Bruno W3F. And this is how all my profile information is decoded. So this is just stored as bytes, and then it's decoded in the UI, right? So now in the UI, you can set this on your account screen. There's an option, set on-chain identity, but you can also access it manually to change these hashes, and I'll show you how this works. So let's say that we have the identity palette, and then there are these functions. And to set an identity through the UI, you would go for the set identity info function. And now these are all the fields that you're offered by default. And when you select one, you will first select the type of storing your data. And these are the hashes that I mentioned. So these are all the hashes, right? And if you SHA-256 it, you can only input the hash. But this value will not be decodable into the real value from which this hash has been created. So you have to kind of have a way to provide whatever UI you're using with the original data so that it can compare the hash of the original data to the hash stored on chain, and then it can display it. So this is why the Polkadot.js apps UI defaults to raw. And then here you put in the bytes. So in terms of finding the value for this, you would put something like foo, and then you have these bytes. Okay, let's remove the space between bytes. That's it. So now to store foo, you would grab these bytes and you'd put these in here. And these are the bytes. This says foo. If I store this, my account's identity will say that the name is foo. This is how the data is stored. Now, why am I telling you this? Because my idea for Hackusama, what I'm building and what I hope to find time to accomplish, but if somebody beats me to it, all the more like kudos to you, and I would love to see what you come up with, is a identity reading service. And that would essentially be a web app where ideally decentralized, so hosted on IPFS or some other method of decentralized access, where when you input an address, the app will go to the chain and it will grab this information and display it in a nice user card. And what this would accomplish is it would allow you to have a URL-based user profile, so that when you say this and this on-chain user, you could actually link to this user by linking to his address. And when somebody opens that URL, their user card would be displayed on screen. This service can then be extended to be a fully fledged identity directory for searching others, and also to include the on-chain behavior of each account when you open their card. So it would be able to list how many times this person interacted with the council, for example, whether or not they were active in referenda, whether or not they submitted any treasury proposals, whether or not they have the identity set, whether or not they were, I don't know, they voted on something, or they're part of the technical committee, or any other part of the system could be documented there as a kind of a user's blockchain profile, if you will. And if you're interested in checking that out, I just recently wrote a tutorial. So I have this Polkadot starter kit, and Polkadot is a starter kit based on Vue.js. It's a dashboard for your Substrate user interfaces. And you can just get started with it. It's Vue.js based. And it creates a dashboard for you, into which you can then just plug in components that you write. So you can focus right on the logic. It's kind of like Substrate itself, where the base stuff is abstracted away for you, and you just get focused on the logic itself immediately. Polkadot is similar. It'll just bring you to a default UI level, and with some basic components as examples, and then you can just butcher those and add your own logic on top of this and create your own components. And what I did with Polkadot in this tutorial, if you go to .leap.com, so that's .leap.com, the first tutorial currently in the list is exactly this. So how to read Polkadot identities with JavaScript. I encourage you to check this out and to use this knowledge to build this idea that I had and to beat me to it, basically. So what you get is a profile card like, sorry, let me find it, like this. So you get a profile card similar to this one. You enter an address. Let me see if I can zoom this in. Okay, so you get a profile card like this. You enter in your address, you press enter, and then it'll load from on-chain the email, the address, the full name, and then you can add other information that you want. And to show you that the code for this is really, really actually simple, I'll show you the two components that do this. So it's just two components. This is the code. And we have here, this is Polkadot. We have here two components. Profile.view is the profile page, which loads the component that displays that little card for the user. And so this is just the HTML for it. And all the logic is here in these 30 lines of code. So this checks if the address the user has input is valid and if it belongs to the chain that you're looking for. Because this component has the ability to check if you've entered the address for the valid chain. You can't really check for identity on the Polkadot chain with a Kusama address, right? And vice versa. So this is the check that happens. And then there's the identity component, which again has a little bit of HTML here, nothing special. And then a few lines, like again, 30 lines of JavaScript code to read this information from the chain. And this, these 10 codes alone just produce the gravatar, so the avatar image that that I show here. And so the entirety of the blockchain interaction happens in just these few lines of code to read the identity information. Really, I encourage you to read this tutorial on .leap.com. There's a tutorial on how to read identities, Polkadot identities with JavaScript. It's a bit long, but that's because it goes from zero to the full product. It'll explain everything from making the Vue.js components to actually interacting with the chain and getting all this information out there. I encourage you to check that out. And also, if you want to learn more about how identities work, how the identity palette is structured, and how to register your own identity, we have this identity palette documentation in the Polkadot wiki. So if you go to the wiki, that's wiki.polkadot.network, and you use the search bar, just go to identity, and that's it. So just find the identity here. And you'll be taken to the Learn Identity webpage, which will, in screenshots, explain exactly how to set identities, how to set custom fields, how to read this data, how to write this data, how to interact with registrars to get your identity verified, and so on. So you'll know everything there is to know about identities by just reading this webpage. It's a half an hour of work for both the tutorial and this combined, and I promise you it'll be worth it. So that's it from me. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm going to do my best to answer them now or later, whatever Dan and Urban decide. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Bruno. That was awesome. We got a couple questions. I don't know how quick it would be. Shevdor is asking if you can show registrar verification statuses.
Registrar verification statuses. Let me check if I can show that. I don't know where I would show this, except in the code. 1 second, let me find it in the...
He can give us.
Why don't you find it, and we can do that after the blockchain, Berkeley blockchain accelerator.
Yep,
talk.
that works. Yeah, okay.
Yep. We've got Urban. We've got one more question that I think would be for Bruno.
Sure.
It's actually from Urban's section, but Rick is asking, how could we use CoinGecko as an oracle in our palettes? Would it be off-chain workers? Do you know how that would work, Bruno?
It would be off-chain workers, yeah. You would have to. Off-chain workers are a tricky thing, and you would have to come to an agreement between different nodes that execute the same worker, and they would have to be within some offset of each other for the data to be valid. But yeah, that's essentially how you. This is exactly what off-chain workers are for. I think there's actually an example on substrate.dev or even on substrate.dev/recipes, which takes you through this exact use case. So using an API and an off-chain worker to feed outside data into the chain. But keep in mind that then you need to kind of trust that the validator who executed the off-chain worker when he was creating that block, you need to trust that validator, right? That he did the API call properly. So that's why you have these extra checks that others will use to verify and come to an agreement between those results. But check out substrate.dev. Use their search function as well to find off-chain workers or API examples, or just go to substrate.dev/recipes. There's a bunch of tutorials there, and I think one of them is exactly this case. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I've invited Jocelyn onto the screen. Let's see if this connection works.
Hey guys.
Hello. Let's see, Jocelyn, are you going to have slides to present, or?
I do have slides.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also have some students on with me from blockchain at Berkeley. That would be fun if you could have them join. Simon Go, Guo. I think I could see him in the chat. Alpen, Yugoslav. I'm not going to say his last name correctly. Sorry about that. Alpin, Alpin, should be on, and Nishan is on also with us. So those are 3 from our blockchain at Berkeley student group. If you want to add them to the webinar here, then they can comment as we go through the slides, because they'll have some insights to share as well.
There's one limitation. We can only have up to 4 screens. So
okay.
You can invite, I can take Urban off and we can have 2 more on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gosh. Probably Nishan and Simon.
Okay.
Yeah. And then maybe we can switch it later.
Yep, perfect. So Nishan and Simon. So you'll both get invites.
All right. Should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, go for that. And so with you sharing your screen, the 4th screen will be one of the students. So we'll have to have one of them on. And then we can bring them on in the end, maybe for Q&A or something like that.
That sounds great. Yeah. Hi, Nishan. Hi, Simon. Yeah. All right. So I think I saw a little control button about sharing my screen. So I'm going to do that. Oh, it says too many video sources. Oh,
so I'll have to
okay.
Now can you share your screen?
Okay. We'll try that. Maybe they can come on at the end, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, shoot. Wrong button there. Thinking of sharing. All right, can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thanks for having us today. Yeah, and like I mentioned, there's 3 students on with me today, Nishan, Simon, and Alpin, who are our leads from Blockchain at Berkeley, which is a really awesome student group that's been in existence on the Berkeley campus since 2016. They do consulting with Fortune 500 companies and education and research. So a lot of activity in that student group. And just to tell you a little bit about UC Berkeley, very old university in California, near San Francisco, for those of you who may not be familiar with us, and about over 30,000 undergrad students and over 10,000 graduate students. And we also have some really notable faculty in the crypto blockchain space. The co-inventor of zero knowledge proofs is at UC Berkeley, that's Shafi Goldwasser. And the inventor of Zcash, Alessandro Chisa, is also a faculty member at Berkeley. And the founder of Oasis Labs, which was a big funding round from Andreessen Horowitz, is founded by Don Song. So a lot of activity on the Berkeley campus around blockchain and crypto. And about over a year and a half ago, some alumni came to us and said, you guys should really do an accelerator at UC Berkeley, you know, around this emerging technology, because you have so many great things going on here. And it'd be great to invite teams in from around the world. So the Haas School of Business, Berkeley Engineering, and Blockchain at Berkeley came together to form this Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator. And my home center is the Siddhartha Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, and we've been teaching students about startups for over 15 years. So we're part of Berkeley Engineering, and we're kind of like the home center for the accelerator. So that's just a little overview of Berkeley. And the reason why there's a picture of the football stadium, you may be curious about that, is that we have an open collaboration space that we do a lot of our accelerator activity at, that's actually in the football stadium underneath the bleachers, but it's a beautiful open collaboration space. So if you want to find us, we're in the football stadium. If you ever get to come and visit, since we're all on quarantine pretty much now still. Yeah, and kind of what we're doing, we're trying to move the technology forward in an ecosystem of integrity. And we provide non-dilutive support to the highest quality teams from around the world. So any team, no matter where they are, can apply. And we have had 27 teams go through our accelerator in 2019. And we have 18 teams that we're working with currently in 2020. And they will do their demo day October 1st. I'll talk a little bit more about the follow-on funding in a minute. Our education, our mission is, you know, education and opportunity creation for the entrepreneurs that we work with and our students. This is a picture from our first demo day. So you can see all the teams represented there. We had 12 teams in that first batch. We had one team from Moscow. We had teams from Silicon Valley, a couple of teams from campus, one from Germany. So really all over the world represented. And in the last year and a half, we've had over 350 applications from teams around the world. We admit 10 to 15% of those teams. I'll talk a little bit more about how you can apply for the next batch and when that is at the end. And so in total, we've worked with 45 teams to date. And then the first cohort that we had, 75% of them have went on to raise new funding. And they have raised over $12 million already, those teams from the first cohort. And that was 6 of the teams that were, of 8 that were seeking new funding. Some of the teams went back to education and are getting their master's degrees. We also have a lot of visiting researchers on campus that come from around the world. And the Haas School of Business hands out research grants on the campus. And those are typically 50 to 100K sprinkled around the campus to spur research in blockchain. We also have a big network of mentors and advisors and investors, and I'll show a slide on that in a minute as well. This is one of our kickoff events that we took a picture outside the stadium. You can see our Cal mascot, the bear, kind of in the background there. Yeah, and here's some of the people that we're working closely with, like Web3 Foundation, of course, is highlighted there prominently. There's some other projects that are also involved on campus. We also work closely with several crypto-focused VCs. So Coinbase Ventures, Blockchain Capital, Pantera, Silicon Valley Blockchain Society, Republic, Decrypt Capital are all, and A16Z Crypto, are all investors that are really active in our network. So we have them come and speak to our teams. And I'm excited to share with anyone currently working on Hackusama that we already have 4 Polkadot teams in the current cohort. That's Fanoa out of Germany, State Technologies represented by the bird out of Tokyo, Noddle that's based in San Francisco, and Akala Network out of somewhere in Asia, sorry, I'm not recalling, and also Auckland, New Zealand. So exciting that we already have 4 teams. We're building on Polkadot. And the resources that we provide to the teams are a lot of events and connections to people, especially people we know in the Silicon Valley area. IDO has a blockchain crypto investment fund, and they did a product validation day recently, and 2 of our teams were part of that. CoinList did a seed demo day, and 3 of our teams were part of that. Unitize was a conference, and some of our teams spoke at that. So lots of connections for our teams to events going on. We also do a lot of programming, networking with mentors and investors. We also have the ability for our teams to come and access our talent pipeline and recruitment platforms, and a lot of other little things that we do. And I think kind of the last thing I wanted to highlight on this slide is that we also assign a Blockchain at Berkeley student to be the liaison for a team on the campus. They're kind of like boots on the ground for each team to access all the resources and connections that we have in our network and on the Berkeley campus. So that's been a really popular resource for the teams, especially in this most recent cohort. So that's kind of all I really needed to say, I think, about our accelerator at UC Berkeley. There's a picture of the Bay Area, and you can see Coit Tower, I'm sorry, not Coit Tower, our Campanile Tower on the campus there that's in the foreground. People who are interested in applying to our accelerator can find the application open in December and January on a platform called f6s.com. You can also email us at accelerator@berkeley.edu if you want to get in touch with us. And our website is there at the top as well. So I think those are kind of the key points, but I'm happy to take questions and have our Blockchain at Berkeley students on with us in this conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Jocelyn. Really interesting presentation. And I think we're going to have some questions coming in from the people on the call. I will invite the other individual you mentioned. Who was that?
That's
Simon?
Nishan. Yeah. If you also want to invite Alpin or Simon, if you can find us, that'd be great.
I don't, hey, Nishan, I'm not sure your audio is working.
Maybe take off the AirPods.
Yeah.
Try and just use the laptop mic.
You can get.
All right. Can y'all hear me now?
There we go.
Okay, good stuff.
That's better.
Yeah, I
So we
think
can-
I think Simon's yeah, probably the AirPods. I think Simon's mic isn't working or stream isn't working. So could we get Alpin on with me?
Yeah, no problem.
Not good enough.
There's Alpine. All right. If anyone has questions, feel free to leave those down here in the Ask a Question box, or you can ask in the chat if you'd like as well.
Yeah, nice to see you guys have 179 people on. That's awesome.
There he is.
Hey, Alvin.
So maybe, do you want to start with Nishan and Alpin? Could you guys give just a brief introduction to yourselves for us and maybe what you're involved with on campus and just a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Nishan. I'm a third-year CS student at Berkeley. I kind of got into the Accelerator because I was first in blockchain at Berkeley, a student organization on campus who does all sorts of stuff. We run blockchain courses, which you guys may have heard of. I'm a consultant, so I kind of I was just getting some notes. So I'm a consultant, so I work on consulting projects with Fortune 500 companies on these kind of point of proof of concept projects, and I've been jumping around the organization over there. Then I joined the Xcelerator this January, where I got to get paired up with a couple of companies in our cohort doing work over there, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's kind of what I'm involved in.
Cool. Alpin?
Yeah, hey. I'm also a consultant at blockchain at Berkeley, and I've been involved in the enterprise blockchain investment space for around the last year or so, and I joined the Xcelerator around 6 months ago. Blockchain has been pretty tightly integrated into my life for the past 4 or 5 years, and it's something I'm really excited about, especially in the enterprise space. So really excited about Web3 and Polkadot as well.
Awesome. And what got you guys just interested? What got you guys interested in blockchain kind of originally?
So for me, I'm actually from Istanbul, Turkey, where there's this huge Syrian refugee crisis. And honestly, what got me first sort of interested later on, what kept my interest was actually the technology itself, which I find really fascinating. But what got me started was this whole buzz around remittances and banking the unbanked, and that right now is a little bit maybe a little more sort of overdone in terms of news, and not really that many applications that do it well. But that when I first got involved in around 2015 or 2016 was really interesting to me. So now I'm around for the technology, though.
Awesome.
Nishan,
Yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about how you got hooked?
I was just unmuting. And then kind of on my side, yeah, so I kind of got into things just a couple of years ago. What really got me into it was purely the technology. Before, I was really interested in security and distributed systems, and I thought that was a really cool kind of case of that. I thought blockchain was a really cool kind of case into that, and I heard about some friends about blockchain at Berkeley. I joined and I kind of dived in over there, and yeah, it's just been a rabbit hole that I've been diving into over the last year or so. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yep, sounds familiar. We've got a question from Urban, and I had a couple of questions myself. I think this is probably for Jocelyn, but could you talk a little bit about the application process for the Xcelerator, and what would you consider a must-have when you're looking at evaluating these teams?
Yeah, so the application process is there's a form we ask all the teams to fill out on F6S, and it kind of goes over the basics. it's great if we kind of can see your LinkedIn profile or some background on you so we know kind of who the applicants are. We think the team is really important, as well as the idea. And then we have about a team of about 15 or more that go through all the applications. And some of us read every single application. So we get a really clear view of kind of everybody that's applied. We also have some alumni who help us with those application reviews that are investors in the blockchain space. So some real great expertise helps us out with that evaluation process. And then we select about 35 to 40 teams that we do interviews with. So we get a chance to talk to the team and ask detailed questions. But the application, asks for a lot of information just about what you're building, what the stage is, if you have any validation on the idea. But we are not focused like in one particular area. Like it's not just enterprise that we're focused on. We really have blockchain startups across a lot of different use cases. We have some in the healthcare sector, some in cross-border remittances, stable coins, DeFi, trading, just all kinds of different applications. So we're pretty stage agnostic. We've had teams that have raised seed funding, and we've had teams that were really early, that were just a very early concept. But we really like the founders and the idea. So I think there's no certain recipe, for being accepted. Just put your application out there, and the more applications we have, the better.
Yep, that's helpful. And Irvin was asking a kind of a follow-up question too, which is, I know you said the applications due around December, January. Is that correct for the 2020 cohort? But when would that start? And do you have is there one cohort per year or multiple? Or could you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, in 2019, we ran 2 cohorts, and we ran them on the school semester boundaries. And we decided that wasn't really the best plan. So we started a little bit later, and our plan was to end in October and possibly overlap 2 batches in 2020. But because of COVID, we kind of got slowed down a little bit, and we decided we focus on this one batch. So our first batch was 12 teams, the fall batch was 15, and this batch is 18. And we really wanted to spend a lot of time with this batch, especially in light of COVID. So that's why we will do our next batch in we'll launch in probably late February or early March with the 2021 batch. But those applications can be submitted in December and January on F6S. And we'll put more details on our website in the months ahead on how to apply.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit, and I think Alvin and Nishan Alpin and Nishan can probably weigh in on this too, but the experience overall for the cohort and their interaction with students and investors and companies, enterprises, could you just talk about the overall kind of experience for these projects that are in this accelerator and what that kind of looks like on a maybe week by week or month by month basis over that year time frame?
Yeah, I can kind of chip in here, especially from a fellow perspective. So there are things happening pretty much every week. So things that a team can kind of look forward to every week kind of starts with a weekly meeting with their fellow, where they coordinate efforts with their fellow. This is kind of where you can talk about your current kind of sense of direction, where you want to go with the company right now, what are your current action items and needs, and the fellow can work with you to connect into our networks and kind of see what we can do, either with, say you want to start hiring as a company. We have our talent portal of people who would love to work in blockchain, so you can kind of tap into that. Also, every week, something to look forward to is our programming sessions, which I think are one of the most valuable things in our cohort. Basically, we bring people from across the blockchain ecosystem. So this is where people from Coinbase Ventures came in, Robinhood Crypto, Pantera Capital. They come in for programming sessions, very tight-knit programming sessions where you can just have conversations with them for an hour or two as a batch. And it's a great way to make a connection with a VC and talk to them afterwards. Other things that kind of happen on a monthly basis are social events with the entire cohort. recently we had a icebreaker social using the icebreaker.video platform, and it was a lot of fun, where teams got to kind of have one-on-ones with mentors at a very random basis, and it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of cool things to look forward to.
Awesome. Anything to add?
Yeah,
on
so
that?
Nishan touched really well on the like week by week what we do and some of the things that we offer. But I think it's also really helpful to understand that we have a sort of much higher level flow to the program as well. We make sure that we have focus weeks where we bring in speakers that touch on different areas. So our current focus week that we're going through is on sales, go-to-market, and we make sure that the companies that are earlier stage in our batch get up to speed, and the companies that are later stage meet the right people to build up to demo day and raise their next round.
Cool. Well, thank you both for the background. Any other comments on that, Jocelyn, just in terms of how you might interact with the teams at a like leadership level? Or
Yeah, I think that, you know, often the teams would like a warm intro to an investor, and I get involved in doing that quite a bit. And so we have a list of investors that we're kind of in frequent communication with, and certain investors are a better fit for certain teams. So we do a lot of those sort of connections as well. Or mentors. What we did recently is put together a really comprehensive list of all the mentors in our network and share that with the teams, and the teams were able to go through that and kind of select like 10 to 12 mentors each that they wanted to reach out to. And the fellows, the Blockchain at Berkeley students, have been making those introductions. So that's another aspect that we've been working on a lot this semester. We also, from a leadership perspective, try and involve, the leadership at Berkeley and make sure that they're aware of what's going on in the accelerator. We have a new Chief Innovation and Entrepreneurship Officer at UC Berkeley, and he's just excited that we're bringing the outside world in to UC Berkeley around this emerging technology topic. So it's great to have the support of the leadership in this mixing of all this talent and people around the world. So I think that's another cool aspect of our academic accelerator.
great. Rick, we have a question here. What is the median size of the first round of the accelerator typically grants?
So we provide non-dilutive support. So there's a lot of accelerators out there that will give funding to teams that they accept and then take back a programming fee from that funding. And we've decided to just provide non-dilutive support, and they can join other accelerators that may give them funding, or they can apply for grants. It's kind of like you don't have to just solely be part of the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator. Like we've had teams go through Boost VC, which is under the Draper umbrella, and also go through our accelerator at the same time. But we find some really high quality teams. I think they're not just looking for an investment. They really want to tap into the resources and network at UC Berkeley. And that's why they come to our accelerator versus going somewhere else. Yeah, and I think the San Francisco Bay Area is a pretty amazing hub for blockchain and crypto. And so to be able to connect these teams from around the world into this hub that starts at Berkeley and then reaches out into the whole San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley network is also a reason why people come to us. So it's not really for money, it's more for the network and the resources.
Okay. I've got a question for Alpin and Nishan. In terms of like where you see the industry heading, or use cases or kind of projects that you're excited about and where you kind of see things going, could you talk a little bit about what's getting you excited like today, or companies that you're working with, projects that you're working with, just something that might stick out to you?
Yeah, so I'm personally really excited about the virtual goods and virtual product space, and also about gaming, I think that's an emerging trend that we're starting to see and also reflect in our accelerator batches. Obviously, protocol level developments are always going to be relevant in this space. But if we're talking about use cases where there are enterprise or consumer clients, then I think gaming and virtual goods are high on my list personally for now.
Yeah, and then for what's been kind of on my mind, so recently I've kind of been diving in. I've become kind of like a DeFi guy. That's what I've like read up most on and what I'm following the most. And some guys that I'm really following a lot and people that I feel really strongly about are actually a company started by Blockchain at Berkeley members, alums. So Open, they do DeFi options and insurance. So they're kind of an insurance layer on DeFi. And I think that's really important. So I'm really excited about what they're doing over there.
Cool. I haven't heard of Open. I'll have to check them out. And Alpin, you'll have to actually connect with Bruno, who spoke earlier. He's very into the gaming and NFT space, so you guys may have a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That happen. Does anyone? Oh, there's Open. Does anyone have any other questions for anyone on the call? Maybe one more question for both of you. What are you wanting? I guess you're at different points in your college careers, but do you have any thoughts around like what you might want your first job to be, your dream job, or what you're looking to do after Berkeley?
Yeah, definitely. So because of my experiences over the last year or so, I've actually been lucky enough to have an internship at Coinbase right now. So I'm interning there on their analytics team right now. And before all of this, I was pretty unsure about what I wanted to do. I was always into computer science or software engineering, but I wasn't sure exactly what that meant for me. It was very open. And I think this experience this summer and from my recent times, it's kind of told me that I do really want to work in crypto. That's kind of become my goal. So as a rising third year, I have another summer. So I'm kind of keeping my head focused on that, trying to like look around for options around the ecosystem and kind of just start building that, building up to maybe doing another crypto internship next summer. That's my main goal. Yeah.
Cool. Congrats. It's a good start.
I'm really excited about doing something in the product management space for blockchain companies. And I might sort of take as a start to that path a software engineering position right out of college. But I think that's sort of the like mid career goal for me to do product in some capacity at a blockchain company.
Awesome. Well, unless we have any other questions, Jocelyn, is there anything else you'd like to add, or Nishan?
Yeah, I should say the Blockchain at Berkeley student group is over 60 students really deep into the blockchain technology on campus. And then I run across quite a few other students that are working on blockchain too on the campus. I had a team reach out to me this week, not even affiliated with Blockchain at Berkeley, that's doing a really cool insurance token for miners and to ensure their income is stable. So yeah, just all kinds of blockchain activity on the campus that we're excited to share with people who come and join our accelerator. So.
Actually, I think that's something that maybe we might not have emphasized enough. The blockchain ecosystem in Berkeley is extremely robust, and some of the companies who have gone through our batches have made hires on campus for blockchain engineers that they would not be able to find in other places. And we also have a job portal of over 500 people interested in the blockchain space that we make available to founders in our cohort. So one of our past companies, Alluvio, made 4 hires on campus in one batch over the span of a few months, which is unheard of for an accelerator, especially in the blockchain space.
Yep. And is there a way for, I know that's like a very talented group of students. Is there a way for other companies who may not be in the cohort to plug into that or get like maybe job openings in front of those students?
Absolutely. The way to do that would be to reach out to Blockchain at Berkeley. So the student organization on campus basically is the best plug externally into the blockchain ecosystem at Berkeley.
Yeah, there were a lot of students who lost their internships due to COVID. So we put together, Nishan, I think, and Alpin and Simon all worked quite a bit on this job portal to kind of like put out there all this talent that we have at Berkeley in the blockchain space. And I think they also sourced names from other universities too. So it's a pretty lengthy list of talent in the blockchain space.
Cool. If you guys have the link to that, it'd be great to check that out if it's an open platform.
Yeah, I think the application is open to pretty much anyone. So right now, anyone from across the U.S., any university or the world, any university, you can apply. And we're definitely working on opening the job portal up to anyone. I can drop a link for that.
Cool. Well, unless we have any other questions, thank you both and Jocelyn for coming on and giving an overview of Berkeley, the accelerator, and everything that you guys are doing on campus. We really appreciate your kind of partnership with us on this hackathon and supporting what we're doing, and of course the 4 teams that are already in your accelerator right now. We've heard nothing but great things about what they're going through with the program. So appreciate the time and great to meet you, all 3 of you.
Thanks so much for having us. Great to be a part of Hackusama.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody on the call.
Bye.
Bye.